Horror games can be a very divisive subject. While many agree that games have the potential to be the best medium for horror, it's not hard to see a certain corruption in the market. It seems as though most of the games that get pushed to the top and played by all the big YouTubers are all lacking in horror, and for the most part are aimed at children. It's a sad thing to think about, but a lot of good indie horror games aren't really talked about that much. I'm, of course, generalizing a bit. It's not the end-all be-all, but the point is, there are a lot of slept-on horror games, and there's two that I can say are some of my favorites that I want to talk about today. So without any further ado, let's get started. The 1980s, a true renaissance in culture. Or something, I don't know why I wasn't alive back then. One of the most important things to happen in the 80s was the great fall-off and then comeback of video games. The Atari kind of killed gaming with an abundance of mediocre games, but the NES showed that games can be actually amazing, and it made it so games weren't just a fad, they were here to stay. However, what if this wasn't the case? What if there was something much more malicious going on? This is something explored in a little game called Benny Bash. The Steam page says it all. Benny Bash delivers horror and puzzles as bizarre 80s games distort your reality, uncover hidden secrets, explore eerie environments, and face challenges in this psychological horror experience. Before I start, I urge you to play the game yourself if you can. It's a free demo, and it only takes about 20 or 30 minutes to beat. With that out of the way, we might as well get started. The first thing we see when starting up is a message, which I'll read for you now. When you read this, I will have already left. Please don't come after me. I'm sending this email because if I told you in person, you wouldn't let me go. But we both know deep down that this is the only way. They won't find any clues. Only I understand what really happened, and only I can bring them home. If I don't return, please know that I love you with everything that I am, and I'll always be there, keeping them safe. This is all on me, so I need to be the one to fix it. Take care. Love, Mike. After that ominously depressing message, we load in front of a large wooden cabin, adorned with 2 torches either side and a skull on top. Before we move on, I just want to say that this game looks amazing. Everything is so grungy, the lighting is terrifying, every surface looks as though it's covered in blood. Walking up to the door, we realize it's locked. Peering up at the skull above, we can take it apart and find a key inside. When entering the cabin, there are only 2 things of note. On your right, a chest with a keyhole shaped like a Triforce. Directly in the center of the cabin is an old television with a video game console. We already started with the cartridge in our inventory, so we put it in the slot. The console transports us into a sort of void. Our only option is to play some good old Benny Bash, a not-so-subtle Mario ripoff. When we start, this floating head of Benny pops up and starts talking to us.
Hey! Look who's here! I'm your friend! We have been so excited for you to join us! I am Benny, and this is my awesome world! I love it here, and I know you will love it too! So let us not waste any time! I am waiting for you!
While he seems friendly enough, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't something a little bit ominous about him. His choice of saying we and saying that he's been waiting for us implies that he's something other than a friendly face. We load into a world map reminiscent of Mario 3, and it looks like we don't have much choice but to go through the first level, since the glitchy level is locked behind a door. The game controls pretty well. Feels pretty much like the original Mario Bros. Physics. Also, the level is pretty well designed. Nothing too crazy, but nothing too bland. Though, one thing that I hate is that you have to jump on boxes to get them to break. I get that it's supposed to differentiate it from Mario, but, it really annoys me. At the end of the level, we're greeted by a shadowy figure hiding in a bush who seems to be a good friend of Benny's. He notices that Benny brought a new friend, calling us Little One. Hey buddy, show some respect, I've got a 401k. His wording implies that this game was either meant for a kid, or maybe our protagonist actually is a young child, though that's unlikely. He tells us about how his favorite hobby is watching the sunset, telling us all about it and inviting us to watch it with him sometime. We move on, and right before the end, you can see a door symbol with a couple numbers of a code. There is also another one of these at the beginning of the level. Backing away from the TV, we can see a door, and punching in the code that we got will let us enter. Inside, there's a table with a note with the time 6 o'clock, as well as a message showing us something to do with backwards text. Oh, and on the note is a clock hand. Going outside, there's a grandfather clock. We can use the newly attained clock hand to set it to 6, and when we go back to the game, the level has now fallen into sunset. so we should probably go talk to Bushy again. After this pleasant conversation, we back away from the TV, only to see Bushy behind us. Dude, when I first played this moment actually got me so bad, because at first I didn't even notice it, and then I saw the eyes. Expertly done, devs. Talking to him, he starts reciting what he said in the game, only forwards instead of backwards, and we have to finish his sentences. Doing so grants us a key in the game, and we can now enter the glitched level that's been taunting us this whole time. When we enter, we're met by Benny again.
What are you doing here? Well, I guess for you.
I have a new game.
We're dropped into a dark cave, told to collect the blue dots. It's kinda like Pac-Man in that regard. As we go through, Benny speaks to us. This part got me real bad, and it made the rest of my time in here so much more terrifying. I kept looking behind me over and over, and I even looked behind me in real life. It was that good. Walking through, we eventually start getting jump scared by missing posters of various children. If you have a keen enough eye, you'll notice that they all have the same last name. Another thing I want to point out is the music that plays as you go through. It's this creepy Jack-in-the-Box-like tune. As we move through, the music gets louder and louder, and the walls turn a blood red color. After collecting the last dot, we're shown another missing poster, and then...
They were having fun when I took them away.
This game may only be a demo right now, but it is already so promising. The art style, the gameplay, and the setup for the story is amazing. Also, if you paid enough attention in the last cutscene, you saw the Zelda-like game, meaning in the final game there might be a ton of parodies of old NES games, which would be really interesting to see. If that's the case, imagine playing creepy versions of Metroid, Punch-Out, or heck, I don't even know, Kirby. Overall, the game is amazing and terrifying. I really hope it sticks the landing when it gets released in full. Alright, we talked about creepy NES games, so what about a trippy LSD dream emulator nightmare of a Mario Kart game? As I said earlier, this game, Kitty Kart 64, is inspired by Mario Kart 64 and LSD Dream Emulator, which, if you didn't know, is this infamous old PS1 game that, as I'm sure you could guess, was made to emulate the dreams caused by the psychedelic drug LSD. It was known for being extremely weird, surreal, and even kind of creepy. Despite of, or maybe because of, its strangeness, it's built a small cult following over the years, leading to the creation of the LSD Jam, which is a jam for games inspired by LSD Dream Emulator. As I'm sure you've derived by now, Kitty Kart was submitted to the 2023 LSD Jam. Booting up, we're met with a really great, period-accurate title screen. The render is done perfectly, and the little shout in the music is great. Sadly, it looks like multiplayer isn't available right now, so I guess we'll go to single player. We're dropped onto a track, but we're completely alone. Might as well have some fun and drive around, I guess. It controls pretty great, feels pretty much exactly like Mario Kart 64, just without drifting. After looping around the track, you notice that the number in the corner of the screen doesn't go up. Driving around again, you'll likely notice a smoke signal in the air, and when you reach the source, you find out it's a crashed cart. Climbing up the tower next to it, you can find a drawing with a small sheep character standing beside the edge of the world. Guess we might as well follow in their footsteps. As you drive further away from the track, the music gets quieter and quieter before cutting completely. Guess we might as well just drive off. We're transported to some sort of big stadium filled with mud. If you stay in the mud for too long, you'll begin to sink, but if you carefully drive between platforms, you can make it to this character off in the distance, and instead of helping, she decides to just let you die. After dying a terrible death, we spawn in a desert level, and in the water, there's this dude complaining about how he can't feel anything, and after driving around, the entire world crumbles beneath our cart, and now he's spazzing out, but at least he feels something. We drive around a bit more, just for the entire world to abruptly corrupt with what sounds like a console error sound. It got me the first time, not gonna lie. Now we're in this eyesore of a level. Blue and pink blocks everywhere, and these strange-looking bodies spazzing out on the floor. The amount of pain your eyes may feel in this level is nothing compared to the pain your ears will feel, though. As you keep driving around, you keep finding what seem to be possible exits, but whenever you get close, a block falls and, well, blocks your path. I was not messing with this area, so whenever my path was met with an impassable wall, I died a little inside. And I had to go through this game 2 times to get all the footage I needed, so that kinda sucked. Eventually, when you find the correct path and, well, jump to your death, we get teleported again. Now we're in a dark abyss with a misspelled congratulations sign and a ton of balloons. Our only task is to pop 30, so let's go. Well, that ain't good. If you drive around enough, you find out that there are people in these balloons, so that explains the blood. If you look real carefully, you can actually tell which balloons are regular and which ones have people in them. You can see this weird tube kind of thing. Driving around a bit more, you can also find this little mouse girl, who seems very upset. And I would be too, considering she freaking dies. Can we get some Rip Bozo in the comments? After popping enough balloons, we meet the same fate, and we're teleported again. The area is actually really nice. It's a highway at night. There's some fish flying through the air and some relaxing music. Honestly, if it weren't for the entire freaking rest of the game, this would be pretty calming. We eventually meet this little cat character, and he drops some actual wisdom. This changed my life for the better, made this whole terrifying experience way worth it. The road seems endless, constantly looping. But of course, like always, we eventually find a way to kill ourselves. Hold on, that actually sounded like really bad. We're teleported now to a dark, empty parking garage. There's confusing directions, and again, it seems endless. I hate using this word since it's completely lost all the meaning that it had before, but it's liminal. We keep driving down more and more, slowly descending until finally, we find the goal. Let's just drive in and... Spikes. Pop the tires. I can't move. Overall, Kitty Kart was positively amazing. It was pretty scary and it had good moments where it wasn't entirely terrifying. It captured everything of the era dang near perfectly. The music, the visuals, completely magnificent. This game, just like Benny Bash, is just a demo, and there's currently a page for it on Steam. I also see a lot of potential in this game, and I hope the final release does the demo justice. Overall, while it's easy to see the current climate of horror games on YouTube and think that the genre has fallen, you need to remember that YouTube isn't all there is. Go on itch.io or GameJolt or something and just look for a horror game that tickles your fancy. Also, not all the horror game content on YouTube is bad. Go watch someone play Mouthwashing if you haven't already. It's a good horror game that's worth your time. There's also a really good documentary style video I recently watched about Welcome to the Game too. The guy who made that actually cooked. It was peak. I'm going to leave that in the description if you want to watch it. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please consider violently beating the like button with an axe, or maybe even the subscribe button if you're feeling extra fancy. And with that, I've been Low Poly Levi, you've been a great viewer, and I'm off. See ya.